Hey everybody, it's Mama 2 One, and thank you guys so much for coming back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Mama 2One. I'm a content creator, I'm a mommy, I'm a wife, I'm an author, I'm a literary editor. I do a few things here and there, also public speaking and other jazz. You can tell from the title, because you obviously clicked on this video because it's all the title. We are going to review and recap season 3, episode 4 of Bridgerton. If you don't know what Bridgerton is, if you're not familiar with the book series or familiar with the show in general, feel free to go back to my channel and look at episodes 1, 2, and 3, my recaps of those. So, like last time, I broke down what happened in the episode, not necessarily in chronological order, but by family or by person, because one comment I've seen a lot for this particular season, I don't know if it's a complaint or it's a critique. A lot of people aren't happy with how many storylines are being touched on in this season. I feel like in past seasons they've kind of done that too, where you have the lead people, but you see a little bit of everything, right? Like you definitely got to have some stuff, some drama with the Featheringtons, because they have drama every season. And occasionally you'll see stuff happening with other characters, but I do feel like this season they're going a little overboard with it. And some of the stories, I'll be very honest, I don't care about. But we're going to go just person by person or family by family to say what happened in the episode, which was called Old Friends. And then we'll go into some of the notes I have. That's cool? Before I start, make sure you like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and comment below because I like to talk to each and every one of y'all. Okay, so we're going to start with the Mondrian family. Now, we know that the Mondrians have come into some money, but Will Mondridge is still working at this club, and he's worked really hard for this club. It's a gentleman's club. Because I guess in the ton, they have one gentleman's club called White's, and then Mondridge, I don't even know what his club is called. But basically, he owns another club, and so it's really popular. It's gaining some traction. But now that he's a part of the ton and he has money, last episode, one of the guys in the ton was like, "Hey, you can't do both. Like people in society, we don't work." And so Will realizes that more people of the town are coming up to him saying, "Hey, man, you need to close the club. That's not what we do." And he's constantly losing money and constantly losing memberships. But he is very determined that he's going to hold on to this club, even though his wife is telling him, "Hey, you're the one that said we need to embrace this new lifestyle." That he's like, "I'm no, I don't care what anybody says. I'm not giving this club up." So one of the balls, the wife goes by herself, Alice, and in the midst of him being so determined to hold on to this club, he's missing dinners with his family, he's missing, these social outings with his family. And the wife, she seems very patient. Alice seems very patient, loves her husband, understands that a man, and I feel like she understands this because she has been part of the working, she's been part of the working part. It's not part. She's been part of the working group, so to speak, for a very long time. So she understands as a man, specifically as a black man, how much it means to him to be able to provide for his family. And yes, you have all this money now, but when you are someone who's used to doing hard work, used to, doing what needs to be done to make sure you got food on the table, roof over your head, and all that stuff, it is hard to all of a sudden train your mind to not think about money anymore. It's difficult. And again, as a man, I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be working hard. I'm supposed to be stressed. I'm supposed to be, sweating or whatever to make sure that my children and my wife are good. So it is hard to let go of that and just be like, okay, cool. I don't have to ever have to work again. You're always going to wait for the other shoe to drop. Just because this is not the life you were born into, you're very new to it. So she gets it. But Lady Danbury is telling her, and one of the balls, Lady Danbury takes Alice under her wing, and they're actually sitting where the queen is sitting. And she tells her, look, the queen is not going to look favorably on you if your husband continues to work. So you need to understand that she does not want anyone in the ton working. That's not what we do here. Those aren't the rules. And if your husband continues to have that club, bar, whatever, I don't know what the queen will do necessarily, but she's not going to be happy about it. And one thing that Lady Danbury said to her, which I love, I thought was a great quote, she said, past lives are dangerous places to revisit. She's talking about her brother, but I just really liked the quote. That's all that happened with the Mondrian family. I'll get to Colin and Penelope specifically later. The Featheringtons. Lord Devlin comes to call on Penelope and her the mom sees them talking in the parlor. And she calls the two sisters from their respective homes with their husbands to come and see this. Like, can you believe this? He came to talk to Penelope. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But one thing I was confused about, if they're talking, isn't there supposed to be a chaperone in the room? Or is there not a chaperone because she's technically of spinster age? Like, I'm not quite clear on all the rules when it comes to that. But the mother was like basically eavesdropping from the door. She wasn't in the room with them. And it didn't seem like anybody was in the room with them. So I thought that was kind of strange. I thought the whole point is if you were unmarried and you're talking to a dude, then somebody else got to be up in that thing, your mother, your brother, or whoever. So I thought it was weird. And they all assume that, oh, Penelope must be talking to him because of Colin's help, because of what Colin did. They don't give her any kind of credit at all. And obviously we only know the Featheringtons from the past 3 years or so. So I don't know history wise if they've always had the history of not being there for each other, not supporting each other. It doesn't seem like the sisters have any kind of real relationship with each other. I think it's very strange. I don't say it's strange. 'Cause all families are, do their own thing. But they definitely don't give her any kind of credit. And the mother doesn't either, like at all. The mother goes in and says like, "Oh, Penelope loves looking out the window," and she's looking out there, and Lord Devlin's like, "Oh, what do you like looking out there?" She was like, "Oh, I mostly enjoy the view, but I've grown tired of it." And the view is the Bridgerton house, and that's important that she makes that comment to him because later on the episode he finds out that, oh, the Bridgertons live directly across the street, and that's why she's always staring out the window. So, spoiler alert, quote unquote. They visit a great library. Now, this I do like the fact that not everything they do is a ball. Of course, we had a ball this episode, but one of the places that all the people visit this great social event is some place that's just like a huge library, I guess, in somebody's house. And Penelope's like reading a book. She picks a book specifically that has to do with Lord Debling's next adventure. But her mother's like, no, you can't read that book because men want to be able to teach a woman something. So if you already know things and they don't have anything to teach you, they feel unmanned. And I was thinking, how how sad is that existence as a woman to live in that day and age where and actually it's not that different, I guess, in this day and age. Women now already have to think carefully about what we say and how we say certain things so that we don't make a man feel like less of a man, so that he feels like he's contributing to the household and contributing to the relationship or whatever. So I just thought it was very interesting not that it was still a thing then, but that it reached so far as to say, oh, you can't possibly read if he knows you can read for yourself. And what is he going to do? It's like, why does he have to be the one to teach her something? Why can't he just be there for her and love on her? But, you know, neither here nor there, because I know what day and time, we're about. Prudence also, at some point, this is at a ball later on, Prudence finds out that she's pregnant. Prudence is the oldest one. Philippa is one in the middle. Philippa discovered she was pregnant last week and she threw up at a ball. Prudence realizes her breasts are really sore, and Philippa tells her, like, oh, that's a sign of pregnancy. So it looks like both the sisters are pregnant, which is what they need. Because if you remember from episode 1 of this season, in order for all of the households in the ton have to be run by a man. Featherington household has a mother and the 3 daughters. There are no men in the house. So the only way for the house, basically, they have to find a man, a male relative, and they don't have one. So they have to get pregnant. Basically, the girls have to get pregnant and they have to have a son. Once one of them has a son, that son will become the new Lord Featherington just because he'll be in that line. And if they don't have a son or there's no male heir or no male relative nearby, then the palace will basically assign a man to be the lord of the house, whether he's related or not, because a woman can't possibly run her own household because I wish she'd be able to do that, right? That's pretty much all that happens with the Featheringtons. With the Bridgertons, Benedict decides to call on Miss Tilly. This is the outspoken woman that he met, I believe, in episode 3. And she's like, I don't want you to call on me. I'm not looking for that. She just wants sex. So he has a new sex buddy. And it's like, okay, I guess that's great for him. And let's see. So the Bridgertons are also expecting Francesca to get the caller. So the caller is, I don't know how to say his title. He's the Marquess, the Marquise. I think it's the Marquise. So the Marquise is the gentleman that the Queen has set up for Francesca. So they're setting out all these suites for him, like, oh, he's coming to court you or coming to call on you. But when the caller comes, it's not the Marquise, it is Lord Kilmartin. This is the man last episode who she saw at a ball, and they just stood in silence together outside. And there was something about that silence that intrigued both of them. And this is probably one of my favorite scenes of this season, really, is that when he came in, he introduced himself because they didn't introduce themselves at all at the ball. When they stood in silence, they were just there, didn't say anything to each other, didn't say, hey, my name is such and such. So they didn't know each other. But he found out, the fact that he found out who she was and found out where she lived and showed up at her house to court her. It was like, oh, a man of action. I like this. And my favorite part is he comes in, he says, I am here to call on your daughter. And it's funny because Eloise is still technically on the market. So when he says this, he doesn't specify Francesca. So you see Eloise trying to hide behind Gregory, which I thought was very funny. But he, it's very clear that he wants to talk to Francesca, and Francesca is very pleased and happy to see him. And they sit on a couch. And again, you have to have chaperones in the room. So they're sitting in a part of the parlor where it's like a little couch, a little lounge area. They're sitting there while the mother, Gregory, Hyacinth, and Eloise are in the same room, but kind of opposite side of the room, just kind of watching them. And literally, they're just sitting there, not looking at each other, but sitting beside each other and just looking into space almost. But they both have this very serene and peaceful smile on their face. And it's definitely a nod to obviously when they first met and they wanted to stand in silence. And just a matter of, the comfort of being still with someone, just being happy to be in their presence and not focusing on, filling up the space with useless words, trying to sound clever or trying to sound sexy or any of that. Is literally just being so comfortable with someone that you can just absorb their essence, so to speak. But they sit there only for a few minutes before the Marquise comes in and decides to court Francesca as well. So Lord Kilmartin, he bows out, and that's pretty much their moment. And then Francesca is taking a walk with her mom, and she asks about Lord Kilmartin, like, do you know about his family? And then she sees Homeboy in I don't know where they are. They're walking somewhere. Some scene I've never seen before, actually. But she sees him, and Francesca is so excited to see him that she practically runs to him and is like, Lord Kilmartin, you left so, suddenly. And Francesca, we don't know a lot about her. But for this to be the fourth episode, this is the most excitement we've seen from her. This is the most we've seen her smile. This is just the most of her personality has really come out. Like she was just so sad, like, hi, and how are you? And why did you leave my house so quickly? And, I just want to say hi and I was hoping to see you here. And it's like, oh, you're clearly interested. And obviously she's kind of playing off like, well, mother, no, I'm not thinking about him. I don't like him like that. Girl, you broke your neck to get over to this dude. While they're talking, there is a violinist playing a song. And Lil Kilmartin was like, oh, the music is nice, right? And she was like, well, if I'm being honest, no. Because keep in mind, Francesca it has been playing piano for years. So she has an ear for music. So she's like, well, actually, the music would be better if they did this, if they slowed this part down, if they added this, if they did this. And it's the most, again, that you hear talking. Obviously, you can tell she's passionate about it. And he's like, oh, that's actually really helpful. Okay, well, please excuse me. And then you see him walk off. She doesn't know what to think about it. She's like, okay, I guess. So then they go to a ball and she's dancing with the Marquise, and Violet is dancing with Lord. Well, she's not dancing. She's talking to Lady Danbury's brother, Fine Marcus, Lord Marcus Anderson. I always forget his last name. I'm positive it's Anderson. So they're talking about both being widows and what they learned from their courtship. She talks about what she wants for her kids. And, he says that, my courtship wasn't a love match with my wife. He was like, but I grew to really care for her. And we had, we're actually very happy until she passed away. And he says he's still looking to find a love match. So at the ball, after the Marquise leaves to get Francesca some lemonade, Lord Kilmartin comes and he basically tells her, like, look, I am not good with my words, but I'm definitely a man of action. I believe in showing you or showing people in general how I feel about them. And he gives her something. She unravels it, and it is freshly printed music sheets. And it's basically the song that they heard in the square, wherever they were, the violinist was playing, but with all of the changes that she wanted incorporated. So showing that he listens to her, and again, that he is a man of action. So she immediately, as soon as she sees it, she's like, Mother, I'd like to go home now. And immediately goes home and she's telling Mother, like, yeah, he changed it just how I liked it. And she starts playing the music right away. And you can see Violet has this beautiful smile on her face, like, oh, my daughter is smitten. I think my daughter's falling in love. So it's like one of a smile of, yes, I'm happy for my daughter, but then also at the same time looking really kind of chagrined, like, oh my gosh, the queen is going to kill me. This is the third time that she's tried to, she liked one of my children and tried to find them the right person. And this is the third time that they have not ended up with who she wanted them to be with. What the freak am I going to do? My children are rebels. So she's looking a little like her. Oh, this is just a lie. Why Francesca doing this to me? But she's so happy for her, obviously. Let me see. For the queen, uh, she is relishing in her match with Francesca. She's excited. She thinks Marquise is a great catch. But then when she sees Francesca leave and she sees that she didn't take the lemonade that the Marquise tried to give her, Marquise, whatever the word is, she's upset. Like, oh my gosh, Whistle Down is going to say I'm a failure again. And I can't believe that my sparkle didn't take the bait or whatever. So she's mad about that. Cressida, I don't even care about Cressida. I really don't. But basically, this is one of the saddest scenes, just in terms of looks. So during this time, if you are an unmarried woman, if you're not out promenading with your friends, and promenading literally is just walking around with your mama, walking around with your friends, walking around with the chaperone, basically just walking like in a square. It's the social thing to do, just walk around. If you're not doing that, there's something called a calling hour. I don't know how long the hour is. I don't know if it's an actual hour or if it's like a section of time where women are supposed to be home to wait for a man to call on them to come and visit, normally with flowers or with some kind of gift. And so she's sitting there in a room with her mother in their drawing room. It's dark compared to the Featheringtons and even compared to the Bridgertons. The Bridgertons drawing room is beautiful light blues, almost like a Tiffany blue. And it's just very bright and it's friendly. Cressida's drawing room, it's super, super dark. And it doesn't feel welcoming. It all feels very stiff and cold. And it's literally it starts her scene with her and her mother just sitting on the couch, not talking to each other. You just hear the very loud talk of the clock, I think. And that's pretty much it because they're just waiting for someone to call, hopefully. And it's depressing. It's like you don't have anything to say to your daughter. You guys aren't just having tea. Y'all can't just hang out and then somebody comes, then you can kind of sit prim and proper. It's very indicative of the relationship between her and her mother, I believe. And so a caller eventually does come, and it's Eloise. And Eloise like, I just wanted to check on you. And Kristen's like, wow. She's like, I've never had a friend ever come and check on me before. And the mother is pissed that Eloise is there, so she goes to tell her husband, and the husband basically kicks her out and then tells Cressida, I'll never want to see you with that Bridgerton girl ever again. But this Bama yells it in Cressida's face when Eloise is maybe 2 seconds out the door, so she ain't even left the freaking house yet. She's clearly right outside of the drawing room door and hears everything. So she's like, well, all right, F it then. So when they have the next ball, keeps clear of Cressida, like, your dad don't even like me. I don't know why I ain't done nothing to him. So she stays off to her own. Cressida comes over and it's like, no, forget my father. It's like, you're one of the only friend I have. I'm still rock with you. And Eloise is like, okay, cool. And this is the first time Cressida asked her for the first time, like, oh, what are some of your beliefs? Like, how are you so courageous to think differently from everyone else? And Eloise goes in this long diatribe of like, no, let me explain my beliefs about this and about women and about marriage and da da da. And she just lays it all out. Cressida, of course, is distracted because she sees, the situation happening on the dance floor, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And that's pretty much all that happens with Cressida. She's boring. Lady Danbury is not feeling her brother. After this particular ball, Lady Danbury leaves and her brother stops her and was like, hey, it seems like, you're meddling with Francesca Bridgerton. It seems like it's paying off. It seems like she has a caller and that's great. He's like, well, maybe you can help me because I just keep meeting the most intriguing woman. And he's talking about Violet. And she doesn't know he's talking about Violet as yet. But she clearly does not care for her brother. She's like, and he tells her in an earlier scene that he came back to London because he wants to be back in society and he's looking to meet some women because, again, he is a widow. Now, just because you're a widow or widower, don't mean you ain't been getting none. But he kind of wants to get back out there, I guess. And she's like, I have no interest in what you want to do, raking around town. I do not want to be bothered. And again, she don't know how interested he is in Violet just yet. If she knew at this point, she probably would have cursed him out in a way that only Lady Danbury can curse somebody out. But that's all that happened with them. So Colin and Sophie. I will start with Colin. So we know that they've kissed. He's no longer giving her lessons at all in, how to get a man or whatever, because as of last episode, the end of last episode, she and Lord Devling are officially courting, officially talking to each other. So even though this is happening and he's fake excited for her, happy for her, he's not really about this life, right? At one point, he's like in his office and he's looking over some of his old writings. Because you remember, again, from episode two, Penelope stumbles upon some of his journals because he's traveled to all these different countries. He was traveling for months and went to like six, seven, maybe 17 something different countries. And he's been writing about his travels. She's only read a little bit of his writing by accident. It's basically about some chicks he met in France. So he's going over some writings, and you can tell that he's looking contemplative, like, huh, let me go back and remember what I did and oh, I liked what I wrote, but he's not really sharing the writings with anybody else. And I mentioned this because even though it was a very quick scene, I mentioned this because in the actual book, the writings are his writings specifically are more important than they have been in the show thus far. I don't know if that's going to change, but that's why I mentioned it because in the book, his writings are there's more emphasis on his writings. But as of right now, we haven't really seen that. And again, I don't know if that's going to change because we're only halfway through, but here we are. So he's looking through his writings and he goes to the library event. He sees Penelope there talking to Lord Devlin and he's trying to get his mind off her. So he goes to hang out with his boys. Now, his boys aren't really his friends because we haven't seen him really hanging out with people. And I've said this before. It's Eloise made a comment before about how the society doesn't create an environment where women can really be friends. So we have seen, I feel like I've seen more girls hanging out, like with Eloise and with Cressida. I've seen more like clusters of girls actually quote unquote be friends or at least hanging out with each other. And it's not catty, it's not a competitive thing like, oh, let's try to all get a husband and I want your husband. I think I need a husband. Like, it's not that at all. It's very much like kind of friendly. You don't really see the guys doing that too much. And the guys that he's with, all they want to do is talk about the women that they smashed in other countries and then go get drunk and smash some other chicks. So he's trying to get his mind off Penelope. So he's like, all right, I'll come with y'all. Like, yeah, let's go hang out. He goes back to the brothel, the same brothel he went to in episode one. And two women, they're kissing off on him. He looks really disinterested. And apparently his body isn't even reacting to these women. So they're like, okay, we already paid, so you can watch us. He was like, all right, sure. So they get started doing their thug fizzle, and he literally is just looking off. And you can tell he's wants to be anywhere but there. He's just thinking about Penelope. Why can't I stop thinking about her? Right. So that's it. And then he goes to the Mondrich Gentlemen's Club, and all the guys that just want to talk about their conquest and the women. And he's like, y'all not tired of this? Like, isn't it a lonely existence just feeling like you have to be this person all the time? And they just kind of laugh at him. And he's like, okay. And it's basically his way of admitting, without really admitting, because again, he don't have no real friends. These aren't real friends. So he doesn't have anybody he can really talk about his true feelings with. So he's telling these men basically that I am lonely. Yes, I was with all those women, but I think I'm finally in a place where I want more and I want to do more and be more. And I want to pour all this that I have in me into one thing and one relationship. But again, he has nobody to say that to. So he just makes a little small comment while he's drunk and then keeps it pushing. He comes home, passes out, and wakes up with a hangover. That night they have a ball. He tells his mother, I do not feel well. I think I'm going to stay home. And she has this conversation with him. And she tells him that he is her most sensitive child. And I did see this in an earlier scene where she basically said how he's attuned to everyone's needs but his own. And you can see when he's having conversations with some people, if he feels like that person is feeling sad or not having a favorable reaction to something he said, he switches it up and he starts, he'll joke a little bit or he'll compliment them or like even like in the first episode, he's talking to all these women, basically telling them what they want to hear, making them feel pretty, making them feel desired without making any actual commitment of his own. And she was like, I know that you do that. She's like, but it has to be really exhausting. And I just don't want you to feel like you have to always do that. Be yourself. Be yourself and don't be afraid to put yourself first. There's nothing wrong with that. And I love how in tune the mother is with all of her children. So I thought that was a really cute conversation. And he's like, all right, mom. He was like, well, I'm so hungover, so I'm gonna go back to bed. She was like, okay, well, just to let you know, you're gonna miss it. Penn, I'm sure, is getting engaged tonight, and it's all because of you, because she knows that her son is really feeling Penn. She can tell, she's not dumb. So that's what happens with him for now. And then when we get to Penelope, Again, she's talking to Devlin about how much she likes to read. And she's talking about how she likes to read about love. And he loves that she's passionate about something. And he talks to her when they're talking about books. He was like, if let's say there was a romance book that you're reading and the man wanted to propose to somebody, but she didn't have any male relatives, which of course, is him saying, I want to propose to you, but you don't got no male relatives. What do I do? So he'll travel for long periods of time. His wife is going to be at home basically by herself. And so he's basically trying to sell the idea of what their life would be like. So because she is Lady Whistledown, she knows that she's going to need that privacy. She knows she's going to need to kind of still do her own thing. So it works out for her that he's going to be gone for so long. But when I thought it stretches at a time, I think it's going to be like a month or two. One of the places he's going to next apparently takes a year just to travel there. So I don't think I realized he's going to be gone literally that long. Like over a year, he's going to be gone. And she's going to be in this house by herself running this household. But she's like, I mean, I'll take it. He's not bad to look at. He's actually nice. And Lord Dublin, though, tells her, like, when we have this marriage, it's going to be marriage of respect and practicality, which means there's no passion there. So, she's like, all right, well, I'm going to take what I can get because at the end of the day, I need to get out my mama's house. I want to still do my Lady Whistledown thing. And if this is the best I can get, then we're going to roll with it. So he asks her mother if he can propose to Penelope. Of course, the mother says yes. And then the mother kind of chastises, not chastises, she makes fun of Penelope. She's like, what are you waiting for? Love? Oh, I can't believe it. This is why I don't like you reading because all you think about is love. It's like, girl. And she calls Penn foolish for wishing for love, and she calls love make believe and says the most romantic thing you can have is security. And again, in that day and age, I understand as a mother, you understand that there's so many limitations to being a woman. There's not a lot of options for you. And in a perfect world, everyone meets their true love match and you make this wonderful life with them and you have these babies and all that stuff. But it don't always happen that way. And because she didn't have that, she's like, hey, I did what I had to do to get to where I needed to be. She's like, your dad wasn't the best provider, but I was married and that's what I wanted. And I was part of the ton. And we did kind of have respect, even though my husband wasn't the best and he was a gambler and blah, blah, blah. So I understand where she's coming from. But obviously, as a mother, still like, I mean, you got to give your daughter at least a little bit of hope. But she also, again, none of them have full confidence that Penelope is going to do any better than what she has. They didn't even expect her to get Lord Devlin. So this is what happens, right? That happens with that situation. Devlin is set to propose to her. So, and he also says that he tells Penn, like, love may not happen, but I'm so happy you have such a full life. And I was like, but okay. And this is the question I wrote down. Love may not happen between us. You're happy that I have a full life, I guess, away from you. So you think me having a full life can make up for the fact that I don't have love? That does that mean because of a full life I won't ever be lonely? But it's such a man thing to say. Like, oh, you're not gonna miss love. You have a full life. I've never had love. And I don't think it's unfair for me to want love. But we're gonna get back to that. So they have this ball. This is the ball where he's planning to propose. So they're having their dance and she's talking to him about what is our life going to be like? And you can tell that she's not overly excited by the idea of the marriage, but she's like, I mean, he's not a bad person, but it's not really what I want, but I'm a roll with it. That's kind of where she is. So in the middle of their dance, Colin comes to the ball and he interrupts their dance. Now, in society, this is a no-no. Nowadays, or I don't say nowadays, later on in society or in the world, people will dance and you say, oh, can I cut in? Like, I know that term. I don't know when that term was birthed, but apparently in this day and age, you don't do that. If a gentleman and a lady are dancing, because remember, I don't know if you remember, all the ladies carry a thing around their wrist. It's like a string that holds a little card. It's about the size of like an index card, and that's their dance card. So when they come to a ball, a gentleman will carry a little pencil with him and will write his name down on the dance card. And I think it's numbered, so it's like, oh, the first song is playing. Now it's my time to dance with Tony. Oh, the second is playing. Now it's my time to dance with Terrell or whatever. So if a woman is dancing with this man, if you want to dance with a woman, then you wait till the dance is over. They always dance for the entirety of the song. And then after that, if they dance again, is normally with a different person and it's still the entirety of the song. If you dance with someone more than two times, then that's a sign that you're courting and you're interested in that person, but it's not It's frowned upon to dance with the same person all night, but you never ever interrupt someone when they're dancing. So Colin walks up to Penn and interrupts him, was like, hey, I need to, talk to you. It's important. And Lord Devlin knows they're close friends, but he's like, okay, he's like, I'm just gonna leave. And again, it's the middle of the dance. So Cressida, like, I don't want to. Cressida goes up to Lord Devlin and is like, I don't want you to experience social rooms. I will gladly finish the dance for you. And in talking with him, he's like, oh, they look angry. What's going on? She's like, well, they've known each other for years, ever since, the Bridgertons moved across the street. And that's what it clicks for him. Oh, she's always staring out the window. And every time I'm around her, it seems like she's looking for someone or she's staring in a direction that I'm not in. Obviously, she's been looking for the Bridgerton boy. So he puts all that together while he's dancing with Cressida. But when Colin's dancing with Penelope, he's basically telling her, hey, you can't marry Devlin. You don't really know him. You're not going to be happy. And she's like, look, I'm going to accept the proposal. I've made peace with it. Just leave me alone. After he interrupts, she sees Lord Devlin like storm off the dance floor and basically is like leaving the ball. She corners him and he's like, look, I hope you get exactly what you want, but I can tell that what you want isn't what I can give you. And if I'm going to have a wife who's going to be alone for all, months or years at a time, I need a wife whose heart isn't already taken by somebody else, essentially. Even though he can't love her, he's like, look, I don't want to have to wonder what you're doing when I'm not around. So I'm out. So he leaves and she gets pissed because, not pissed, she gets a little pissed. As soon as he leaves, the mother comes up to her and is like, what happened? What have you done? And she's like, that's your first question. She's like, I wrote down what she said, do I only matter to you if I have a Lord's engagement ring on my finger? And it's, the mother, I will say the mother's had a lot of growth this particular season because Penelope is standing up for herself and she's saying things to her mother that her mother has never heard before, especially has never heard from Penelope. So I appreciate that. So she leaves herself, Penelope, gets in her carriage, and Colin sees her leaving. This man runs after her carriage and catches her. And he's in there and she's telling him what happens. Like, look, he didn't propose to me because of you, because he was under the impression that you like me. Obviously, we both know that's not true. And he's like, I do, I have feelings for you. So he confesses, he doesn't say love, but he confesses that he has feelings for her. Can't stop thinking about her, can't stop dreaming about her. He's had these feelings for weeks. I don't want to ever stop thinking about it, whatever. And she's like, okay, we're friends, but I desperately want to be more than friends. And a heated kiss comes, and then he, everything is so taboo. So even touching somebody's skin is like, oh my gosh, you touched my shoulder. And like she has a dress, he pulls down one strap. He doesn't do the dress, just pulls off one strap. Nothing is shown but a shoulder. It's like, oh my gosh, my shoulder. Yes, kiss my shoulder. Yes, kiss my neck. Oh my gosh, this is great. And the first time I saw this particular scene, I was confused about his reaction. She takes her hand and she runs it through his hair once, like kind of slow, and he looks like he is a cat being petted by the softest hand in the world. He's like, ah, like just seeming in awe. And I was like, all she did was put her hand in your hair. But then it dawned on me that the first time that they kissed, she didn't touch him. It was just lip to lip, their first kiss, and outside of her wrapping his hand when he cut his hand, she hasn't had the chance to really touch him. So I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. That's basically the first touch. That's why he has that reaction. So they're going for it. They're kissing. He's like kissing her clavicle. Then my man slides his hand under her dress with her consent, because consent is sexy. Puts his hand under her dress, and I don't know how they do draws exactly back in that day, but basically he has easy access to her stuff, and he goes up in her stuff and pets her stuff, and she's moaning, "Oh my God!" It's like, "Oh, oh," and it's great. And then they stop because they get to his house, so he's looking flustered. And I will say about this actor, I love that in that moment when the carriage stops and he's just looking at her, you can see so many different emotions and feelings go across his face and his eyes and the way he looks. Like it was very good. That one particular scene, I was like, he is acting his behind off right now because he's just like, you can see him just looking confused, looking overwhelmed, and then all of a sudden a resolve. And he looks at her, he opens the door, he gets out, he's at the Bridgerton house, and he's like, all right, come on. She's like, what are you talking about? Your family's in there. And he's like, Penelope Featherington, are you going to marry me or not? And that's how the episode ends. So we have an official proposal for the man that she has been in love with for basically all of her life. So these are the notes that I took. Number one, everyone underestimates Penn. From Eloise, from her mother, from her sisters. I think everybody, and I don't know if it's because I don't know. I don't know if it's because Eloise. I don't know if it's because Penelope is quiet. I don't know if it's because she may have different ideas than other people. But I feel like everyone really underestimates her, and it's like y'all known this chick for years, and y'all really don't think she can bag a dude. Like just because she hadn't before, she changed her, her dress, she changed her hair. So why wouldn't she be able to bag a youngin? Like, come on now. Okay, another quote. Okay. But that Violet is so in tune with her kids. I think she's very good at reading. She's very good at reading her kids. And then if she gets it wrong, she's quick to kind of apologize. Like, look, this is what I know, but you're teaching me that what I know isn't all there is. So I appreciate who you are. I'm going to support who you are. And I'm going to be in your corner rooting for you every step of the way. I really like her. Brimsby has more lines this season. Now, Brimsby is the Queen Charlotte's not henchman, but like her main guy that stands behind her all the time. And again, this is like another nod to Queen Charlotte spinoff that we got to see the origin story of Brimsby and Queen Charlotte and how their relationship has developed and grown over years because he's been there with her for so long. And I love the fact that we get to hear him talk a little bit more. He's definitely like sassy. He is snarky, he got her back for sure, but he definitely like kind of said some things that every once in a while. She's like, "Excuse me." What?" So I love the fact that we're getting to hear from him more. Okay, this is the question. Why would Devlin consider marriage if he knows that she wants love? If they had this whole conversation about, oh, Miss Featherman kind of books do you like, and she talked about how she likes reading about love, right? She made that very clear that I kind of want that. I'm intrigued by that. So if you know that's what she wants, and you know that at this stage in time, or at this stage, you cannot offer that to her, then why did you insist, or not insist, because that conversation happened before he even asked the mother for Penelope's hand. Or not asked for the hand, but asked Miss Featherington, Lady Featherington, for permission to propose to Penelope. So if you already know that she wants love, because she's basically telling you that, then why would you still want to marry her if you know you can't give her that? I didn't quite understand that. I asked how long is calling hour? I wonder if it's an actual hour of the day. Because again, at some points you see people promenading. So I feel like calling hour is definitely a set time. Like maybe I don't know, 11 to 2, and then they can go promenade if they want. They can go to Modiste to get some clothes. It feels like if you're a member of the ton, I feel like all we see them really do is go to the Modiste, they go to the Gentlemen's Club, they promenade in different places. They have a couple different events here and there, like the Great Balloon thing that happened last episode. They've never really had that before, so it's like, okay, that's something different that y'all can attend. But it seems like kind of the same, very same things like all the time. I feel like another thing that happened at the ball is they had something different, and it was the Queen's Ball, and I love the fact that the Queen is always bringing innovative new things to her stuff, and they had a dance at the ball, meaning they had two ballet dancers acting out this beautiful love story. And it was gorgeous, it was very fluid, and everyone's eyes were just glued to them and they looked like they were in awe. Some of the people who were there in attendance were in tears. And I love the fact that the queen is able to bring something new to the table and just something new that people haven't seen and something new for the viewers because it's like, okay, another ball with some more live, pianos, cellists, or whatever. And okay, you guys are dancing and you're going home and you're drinking lemonade. So it was nice to see something different. Um, oh, okay. When Francesca left the Marquise on the dance floor holding the lemonade and she didn't drink it, right? The Queen and Brunswick were like, "Oh, she didn't drink the lemonade." He's like, "She's not drinking the lemonade." She didn't drink the lemonade. And they were just so startled. And I took this a couple different ways. Refusing the lemonade is like refusing the man. It's just like leaving someone on the dance floor in the middle of a dance or interrupting someone in the middle of a dance or, it's kind of like that. It was just very rude, very apparent. So if someone brings you lemonade and you don't take it, it's just considered like a slap in the face, very rude. That's one way. The other way I was thinking was the way they kept saying it reminded me of um I know I'm gonna get it wrong, so I'm not gonna be specific, but it was some kind of cult well, years ago, where everyone was convinced to kill themselves by drinking Kool-Aid that was laced with poison, right? And so that was a term that was in the news for a long time after that about drinking the Kool-Aid. And now that term means basically falling for something that isn't good for you, falling for the hype, falling for something that's been hyped up to be this great thing that really isn't. So I took the whole drinking the lemonade thing, her not doing it means she's not falling for the status quo. She's not falling for this person that the queen hooked her up with just because that's the right thing to do. Even though before she's like, oh, I trust the queen and I'll do this and I'll do that. But when she had that sheet music in her hand, it's like, I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid. I'm going to actually follow what I want to do. And what I want to do is go home and play this music because Kill Martin has listened to me and it seems like he is the person that I should be with. So that's kind of how I took it. So but the episode was fine. I'm happy that we have a proposal. I do think, I feel like because Colin again doesn't really have any friends, we haven't gotten the chance to hear him talk about what he likes about Penelope. And I feel like even for Penelope, like she hasn't really talked about Colin a lot, but because we saw the glances that she gave him in season one and in season two, we already know that she's smitten. We already know she's far gone. We already know she's in love with this man. So her getting excited about proposal made all the sense in the world. But for him, it was like, okay, you had a kiss, and now you've kissed her again, you've felt her up or whatever. But what exactly is it about Penelope that you like? I feel like that conversation, because even when he talked to her and cares about his feelings, he didn't say, you are this and you were this and you were so this and this and this. It was more like, I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop thinking about our kiss. It was more of that. So I want that, and maybe we'll get that next episode. Hopefully. We'll see. But yeah, that's my review and recap. That's pretty much all I got. If you guys want to comment below, like this video, share this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys soon. Peace.